a few weeks ago marked the 40th anniversary of the space shuttle program here for NASA in the United States. From 1981 to 2011, the space shuttle flew 135 missions. My family and I recently visited the Kennedy Space Center, and they had on display there the space shuttle Atlantis. And it was spectacular to see. To be just a few feet from this technological marvel that traveled to and returned from space over 30 times was absolutely spectacular. But just as much as seeing the space shuttle Atlantis, I very much enjoyed hearing the story of how the space shuttle program came to be, because it's the story of crazy ideas that somebody believed in enough to make this impossible dream a reality. You know, we're about halfway through the Old Testament. If you've been reading along with us in the Daily Walk Bible or listening to the Daily Walk podcast, we are about at the halfway point right now of the Old Testament. And as I think back on everything we read, it's the very same story. The story of crazy ideas that somebody had to believe in enough to make this impossible situation work out the way that it was supposed to. To believe God enough to take this crazy step of faith. It's all through the Old Testament, isn't it? I mean, all the way back to Noah, who had to believe God enough that in the midst of this dry land, that building an ark was a logical and sensible thing. It was Abraham having to believe God that though he was an old man who couldn't have children, that he was still going to be the father of many nations. It was Moses having to believe that outstretching his hands could hold back the waters of the Red Sea. Joshua having to believe that the best battle strategy was to walk around the city 7 days in a row. It was Gideon who had to believe God enough that 32,000 men to go into battle against the Midianites was not logical, but rather they were best suited to go to battle with only 300. It's the story that God writes over and over and over again, calling people to believe some crazy, somewhat illogical belief, and to believe it enough to take a big step of faith. And you know, as I read the Old Testament, what we've been reading together through the Bible, I can't help but wonder, you know, maybe God hasn't changed. I mean, we see him do that in the Old Testament, and the reason seems so logical, right? So that in those moments of victory and success, that only God would get the glory. That only God could be the one to cause the victory and cause the success. And listen, I don't think God's changed a bit, yet I wonder how often we miss opportunities. Because it's so easy for us to live a life that's planned and calculated. We work so hard at avoiding risk, preparing for contingencies, making sound and reasonable decisions, safety and comfort are our values and our culture that we hold on to we hold on to tightly. And yet, often the story of the Bible is not the story of people who lived in safety and comfort and calculated risk. It's people who believed God in a crazy idea to take a crazy step of faith, to bring an impossible dream to a reality. It's one of the reasons why we Walk Through the Bible are so passionate about encouraging and challenging people to read the Bible, to read the stories of how God worked in these crazy steps of faith, so that they would inspire us to listen to where God is calling us, to step out of the logical, to take the risk, to move into the unknown, to believe God in the impossible. And so I just have been thinking a lot lately about my own life, and maybe you can think about yours as well. Where is God challenging you to take some big, crazy step of faith? To believe Him in something enough that you would be willing to stretch out of comfort and safety, to risk and follow Him. Where might that be for you? And let me just say, if he is, then go. Then go, then risk, then follow, then give, then sacrifice, whatever it is that He's calling and stretching you to do. Because when we read this book, the moments that we stand out to us, the moments that we reflect on and we celebrate and we think back to, are those moments where the people of God believed God enough to do a radical thing for Him. And always it resulted in extraordinary blessing. And that's a blessing that I don't want to miss. And I don't want to miss, and I don't want you to miss either. Where is He inviting you to believe Him enough to step out into the